You were created to create.
And now that you're here, the only way to unlock and unfold that is you find ways to continue to create.
When you stop learning, you stop growing. Your biggest purpose is how are you going to crack the code on you?
All right, Tune In Tuesday. It's me, your boy, Mad Lee. We are back. And man, I am excited because if you can't notice behind me, we are in the new studio. And first one, so I wanted to just get it going, hop right in as I give it a few seconds to allow people to hop on, allow people to kind of join as you're getting notifications. Welcome to, again, another Tune In Tuesday. And man, I wanted to just really speak on something today that it really has become more and more of what feels like a crisis and a topic of concern for a lot of people. And so I wanted to shed light into that, speak to that. Hopefully maybe this speaks to maybe some questions you've had. Maybe it's concerns, maybe it's things that you've dealt with or you've just noticed, maybe not just only in your own life, but maybe it's just the people around you. And so as always, to kind of give you a hint into today's Tune In Tuesday topic, man, I hope this topic and this conversation really serves you and allows you to really just see a way of changing things up, changing the ordinary, a lot of the average approach and understanding, taking something on that would actually allow it to be an experience that changes your life, but also the lives around you. And so I know that's our goal. If you're watching this, again, I appreciate you. And that speaks to the fact of who you are and your pursuit to continue to grow in excellence and being allergic to the average. And so with that being said, I want to hop in and I wanted to just kind of paint the picture of like where this conversation started. And really it was really a conversation with somebody else this week, or I should say this past weekend that I was having a conversation with. And, you know, if you're aware of how much our society has grown and how much we've evolved from technology to convenience, to just the options of what we can do and what we are just able to do now. It's a game changer. And so much of what we've seen, I feel like in our society growing, technology, we're getting smarter, we're getting faster. We also see the downside or what looks like the negative side of that. And so in that, as far as we've gotten, there's still things to figure out, right? There's still things to tap into and really just to see what is a better way? What is the better way of taking this thing on? Because like even with technology and the advancements and the speed, there's a lot of things that if we're not careful, we start to detach from, or we start to allow to become distorted, which often brings, that's what I want to talk about today. It brings more of the meaning and the fulfillment of our life. And so I wanted to just start out with, this conversation I was having, and it was a buddy of mine, and we were just talking about, how so many people start to feel or have this sense of just like, what is kind of my meaning? Like, what's the meaning of life? What's the why? Why am I here? What does that look like? And I think, statistics and a lot of studying between books that I've read have pointed back to this idea of a lot of people are feeling this way. A lot more people, even on the outside looking in, like, so if you're an outsider looking at somebody, often you may see this person as, you got a career, you got a job, you got a house, you have a vehicle, you have cars, you even have a family, and you seem happy. But more and more studies are bringing us to the fact that, I think it was from the time of 2010 to 2024, the rate of how many people felt like life was meaningless or they are still trying to find their meaning had completely doubled. And so in that, I wanted to speak on that because this is becoming something that, even for me in my process of life, taking on, so many different things, building, expanding, learning, growing, there's still seasons where I wonder like, hey, what is the actual meaning? Like, and so I'm not going to get super, super far on all the details because I want to make sure that I keep this in a decent time frame for you and don't go on for an hour. But I wanted to at least hit on what are the most important things that unlock that meaning, that fulfillment, that gift of life, and why are we missing that? Where is the detachment happening from? Like where are we witnessing this take place at? And so much of that, it comes back to this word of service, of serving and allowing your life to be one of service, okay? Because fulfillment isn't found in necessarily, like meaning isn't found in being served, but it's often found in becoming someone who serves, someone who builds their life around that, right? Someone who creates a state of mind that allows you to see the opportunity in serving and giving a contribution of some sort to others. And so I want to expand into that. And so, we're living in a lot of times where people feel off. If you look around, if you talk to people, disconnected, unfulfilled. A lot of times, people are working and grinding to get to this place of feeling happier, but they end up feeling drained at the end. And that leaves us, doing the work and showing up. As somebody that is a hustler, like sometimes you can do all these things and still feel like you're still searching for a meaning. It's like that example of wanting to reach a goal, and then when you reach that goal, it's kind of like, okay, now what? What's next, right? It's like, okay, now what's the next meaning? What's the next thing I could do? And so most people think the answer is I need more. I need more real estate. Somewhere to live. I need more fun things to do. I need more friends. But the allergic to average approach is always to really flip the script on what the average is doing, or what the average approach is, what the status quo is on that, right? And allow yourself to look at what is the opposite of that. What is the opposite of what the average is doing? And so the question really isn't, what is it that I need more of to make me feel like I have a sense of meaning, or that life is good, or that I am fulfilled. But really the answer is like, how could I actually give more? Okay. And bear with me, because I know that sounds crazy. It's like, well, why would I want to give more if I really feel like I need more, right? How could I give from that place? But it's flipping the script and realizing that, it's not that we actually need more. I think at times to get to meaning and to unlock purpose and to unlock fulfillment and to really get into that progress of seeing what that looks like, it's actually in us giving more that we find in return that we're actually getting more at the same time. And so often, again, most people, the average person is asking like, what can I get? In a relationship, what can they give me? In a job, how much can you pay me? In an opportunity, maybe it's taking on a project. What can this do for me? Maybe it's in a relationship with, a friendship, just having, a friend. What can they give me? What can they bring me? And so that's a natural question. That's a natural desire. But when that becomes our focal point, it leaves us at some point feeling meaningless, feeling, again, maybe wondering, drained, confused on, I thought I would get more. And when we don't get the more that we imagined or we maybe thought would be there, we feel like it becomes a problem, right? It's something that I don't need anymore. And so the allergic to average get out of this question, okay, what can I get? And it goes into more of, who could I serve? Who could I serve? Okay. And again, I wanted to look at, what does this actually look like? All right. Because the world that we grow up, it trains us. We are trained from the time that we're little kids to consume, right? Consumption, especially in America. But purpose is found in contribution. So it's actually the opposite. As the average, we are always wanting to consume more, whether that be food, whether that we want more to consume more money, we want to consume more things, we want to consume more time. But in allergic to average approaches, understanding that purpose is found in contribution. It's actually your purpose and your meaning and your significance gets unlocked whenever you're contributing, you're giving, you're actually serving. And so the fastest way to feel empty is to make life all about you. And of course, with social media and so much of the focus of life and you, right? This becomes a natural way of thinking for so many people, is that life is all about me. And that's the fastest way to start feeling empty. And like life is just kind of meaningless whenever it's just focused all around you, right? So I wanted to say that to that point, life is for you, but life is not all about you. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Life is for you, but life is not all about you. And when we make it all about ourselves, that's when we start to really get into this feeling of meaningless and unfulfillment and being unsatisfied with this gift that we have called life. And so your life has value because it can be a contribution. It is a contribution. It's something. It's a gift that serves and unfolds and reveals and allows people to see something deeper, something truer, something more meaningful, and that happens through your actual gift and your experience of contribution to others. Okay, and so I love this quote from Martin Luther King, and he talks about, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And so in another way of saying that, every life has value because every life has the ability to serve and to contribute into another. And so this is a big thing for us to step back and really gain a focal point on, is seeing that every life is valuable because everybody can serve. We all can serve. You don't need a title. You don't need a platform. You don't need a lot of money to be a person, or sometimes even money in general, to be somebody that serves, that contributes, that even at times what feels like sacrifices. And that's what makes us great, is our ability. I mean, any business that you witness that actually brings together somebody that, or I should say a strategy or a technique that allows others to be served to the highest level, right? That's what greatness is. The people that we look back in history, the forerunners and the ones that have really solidified and changed things came in and some, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that they've done it, but and one continuous echoing theme would be they served. They found a way to lay down their life, and they found a way to serve and bring value and bring a contribution that actually helped propel and change other people's lives for the better. And so your life is valuable because you can contribute, okay? You can contribute and you can serve, and you can find your value and significance, as you're doing this with the friends around you, right? It's your family, it's your team, it's your coworkers. I mean, and this goes even as simple as to a stranger, somebody that you have no history with, you have no knowledge of, but even to a stranger, you can be a gift. And that's actually what we're meant to be. And so, the average, what we typically see is the average person wants value. Like we would see the average person wait to be valued, but the allergic to average creates value. Okay. And so instead of waiting to have a title and then serve, or instead of waiting to be acknowledged for the great person you are, we flip the script on that, and people start to, find and attract titles and positions and levels that they may not have had normally or before whenever they start to actually serve. We start to find value in people when we start to actually see their heart for service through kindness, through contribution, through giving, through laying down their life and not making life, again, all about them, but actually allowing others to be seen, to be heard, to be, better in their pursuit and what they're taking on. And so we got to get out of this illusion of waiting to be valued. The allergic to average create value in what they do. And so I love the scriptures, of course. And in Matthew chapter 7, in verse 12, Jesus talks about the golden rule. And this was something that, most of us, majority of us, we grew up, in elementary school, and we knew about the golden rule, which is, in a simple context, of understanding this idea to treat others the way that you would want to be treated. And so in saying that, there's a lot of different ways that, to the purest and the most healed version of you, when it comes to how would you want others to treat you, right? How would you want others to serve you? How would you want others to approach you, to, handle situations maybe when you're in the wrong? Like, how would you want others to treat you in any given situation, or maybe it's just day by day? And so often we lose sight of what that looks like and what that feels like, because we can get distorted in this way of thinking about, sometimes we don't treat ourselves the best, right? We don't serve ourselves to the highest degree. And so I understand how often that happens, because if we're not offering love in different or multiple areas of our life, sometimes we're not able to do that. We're not able to do that, in fact, to others in these various areas of their life. Like, if we're not giving ourselves the gift of grace and forgiveness and the gift of believing in yourself, it's very hard to do that to others. It's very hard to offer that and to let that be something that you're contributing to others. And so we have to come back to, again, the individual of you, like, just on a heart basis, on a mind basis. Where do you exist in that? And how are you loving yourself? How are you allowing yourself to be, how are you treating yourself? Right? And so that, I don't want to get too far off in that, but that's just something to acknowledge. But in that place, as you're growing in that same way that you would want, to be treated, you would want to be valued, you would want to be loved, right? This is the golden rule. And it comes back to understanding that so much of how we want to be treated, how we want to be served, that is actually a strategy of how we look into and we experience and we take on the contribution and the gift of serving others. And so, you want respect, right? You got to give it, right? You want support. Where is it in the areas of your life that you're giving support? You want encouragement? Where are you giving encouragement, right? You want love? How are you giving love to yourself? How are you releasing and unlocking love into other people's life? And so, with the golden rule in Matthew chapter 7, verse 12, he lays out that, this is the way that we should approach. This is the way we should do things. And that's why it's called the golden rule. And that's why we were taught it since we were kids, because that truth still remains. But when we get into verse 13 of chapter 7 and we get into verse 14, he talks about, this hard truth that serving is the narrow path, right? And so this is that contrast that we can see between why the average person doesn't want to serve, and really the ego takes over and it's about protecting themselves, and why it's important and it's powerful for us to step into actually serving and giving and being a contribution in this life. And so, the wide path, it's easy. In verse 13 and 14, he talks about, it's crowded. The wide open path is crowded with people, and that's the path that most people travel down. And this narrow gate, this narrow path, right? Few find it. And that path is not some actual physical destination that we have to find and we got to get on. It's actually it's a way of becoming an understanding within your mindset, right? And so again, it's getting out of this place and position of, where can I get? What can I get? How can I get? And it puts the emphasis on, how can I serve? Where can I contribute? How can I give of my value, my talents, my time? And so, again, when we go back to the narrow path, the path of serving, the path of valuing, the path of contributing, it's intentional. It's more. This is a path of selflessness, right? Being more selfless about who you are. And really a more purposeful, meaningful, finding significance is really what we find on the other side. And so most people don't choose to serve or to let their life be of service to others, at least consistently. But that's why it's powerful. The average is not doing this. The average does not actually feel like this is a winning or best, life strategy for them. This is not an approach they think that actually matters. And that's what makes it so powerful. Serving is rare, and that's why it absolutely changes everything. And so, I wanted to kind of just bring it home as I come to an end on our Tune In Tuesday talk for today. But if sometimes I feel like when we look at, why are we in a society in an age where people feel so empty, when we've been more connected than ever, when we have technology that is, I mean, insanely incredible and intelligent? Why are so many people feeling meaningless, feeling insignificant, feeling empty, right? Feeling drained? And I think so much of this, at least a big approach should be, we have to come back to, yes, understanding inwardly within our heart, within our mind, where is our thoughts, right? What are we focusing our contribution and how we can serve? But once we understand that, which I feel like if you're listening to this right now, serving and letting that be a characteristic of how you demonstrate love, how you demonstrate kindness, you already probably understand that. And so maybe for you and for most people in this Allergic to Average group, when we start with looking inwardly, then we have to take that inward look and that inward, posture, and we have to start looking outwardly, right? Where is it outward that we can find a place that we could serve, that we could show up of our time, of our values, of our expertise, of our gifts, of our knowledge, right? And so that's a challenge to you. Find someone to encourage. When it comes back to, how can you find someone even in the simplest ways to help? How do you find ways to contribute today? How could you do that? What does that look like? And that's where I wanted to get your mind kind of processing. Again, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And there's something that is unlocked when it comes to meaning, significance, value, and the fact that you're not just average. You're not just ordinary when you actually allow your life, your value to be unlocked and unfolded through service, through contribution, through the gift of you and what you have to offer. And so don't overthink it. Don't try to strategize it too hard. Look for where you can show up and give the simplest things, your time, your smile, your voice, your ear, right? And in that, I think we continue to find more meaning, more purpose. In that, we continue to find more value and contribution into why we're here and why your life matters. Because at the end of the day, your life does matter. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you watched this. I'm glad for your time and you rocking with your boy, Matt Lee. So I'm going to bring it to an end right there. Find some way to serve and find some way to be great in that service, because that's naturally what will happen. So leave any questions you got, any comments you got, feedback, always appreciated. And again, once again, I appreciate you for your time joining me on another Tune In Tuesday. Until next time, it's your boy, Matt Lee. I'll see you on the next one. Love you guys.